Okay, I think we're live, everyone. Hello, and welcome back to our Persona webinar series. Once again, I'm Sriya, the co founder and CEO of Persona AI, and we do sales automations. And I'm so happy to have Brice from Growth Machine here. I think I've seen Growth Machine mentioned just organically like hundreds of times on my LinkedIn feed. Especially, I think you guys recently did a product launch that went super well as well. So congrats to you, Brice, on that.
Thank you.
And super excited to have you here to both chat, learn about your founder journey, and about the Growth Machine, as well as today we're actually going to show you a real life use case on how Persona actually uses the Growth Machine and how you can set up these automations yourself. So starting off, Brice, would just love to hear like a small intro from you.
Thanks for inviting me first, and thanks for the intro. So yes, I'm Brice. I'm the founder of Growth Machine. You mentioned that. We are a sales automation platform, but we are not only an email automation platform. We are trying to help you get more replies, and to get more replies, we will help you change the channel when your lead doesn't respond on the first one. We support email, LinkedIn, Twitter, the calls, and we'll introduce more in the future. It's like waterfall enrichment for the emails, but for conversations, if you want.
Yeah. And can you chat a little bit about like why you've seen this sort of like multi-channel prospecting and outreach be successful? What kind of inspired you to do? Like, why is multi-channel important? Because when you first think of outbound, you like most people just think email as a platform, but like, why is multi-channel important? What channels do you guys support?
I think it's almost mathematical. If you use one single channel, let's say email, you'll probably get something like in Europe you get approximately 10% of replies. Okay, per email, maybe between 5 and 10. I know that in the US it's more challenging, and you get maybe 1 to 3%. But let's say, okay, whatever the figures, if that's 10, then 90% of the people that you contacted didn't reply to you. So those 90%, well, you don't do anything for them and with them. So what we do is help you use that 90% and contact them on another channel. Even if you only get 10% of that 90, you get more than you used to get when you did single channels. When you multiply the channels, you speak to the people who didn't speak to you at the first place. And to answer your question, when did we get this? Before Growth Machine, I was running a growth marketing agency, and we did this for our clients a few times manually. Then we wrote a script that worked quite well, and then we productized this by hiring a series of developers and stuff. And that's how Growth Machine worked. So we come from the ground. We were an outreach company at the very beginning.
That's really cool. So like for most of like you guys were your own customers first, right? That's really cool. That's really cool. And I think that's when you know the pain point and problem so deeply. And even for me, like when I see people like, I get hundreds of emails, but when I also see them connect with me on LinkedIn or in other avenues as well, it just keeps it up in the memory. I'm like, oh, like I'll respond to this in one way or another. So I think multi-channel prospecting.
I would go even further on this. If you just see me commenting on your LinkedIn posts, if you see me liking all your posts, then you see my face 1, 2, 3, 4 times. I'm quite sure you will answer my LinkedIn request when I send one, and you'll probably reply to my message.
Yeah, that's really cool. I didn't think of that one as well. It just kind of like that psychological, like in your memory of seeing someone's name or face, like. And I know, like, I see with you and your team members, you guys have that like bright purple background and like just kind of that branding and things like that's really cool. So it's like kind of even beyond just the messaging, but it kind of like playing into like human psychology as well. Like, hey, this I mean, kind of how I discovered La Growth Machine as well, right? Like I just saw your names keep popping up, and then I was like, okay, like let me reach out and see if we can get something going with Persona. What are some cool or unique use cases you've seen with La Growth Machine?
We imagined a few scenarios at the beginning, but people are creative, and I'll show you later in the demo. But we have a Canva where you can build your own sequence, and people get creative when you give them that kind of tools. So we started with the basics, the prospections use case. So basically contacting people and trying to get a call, basically. But after that, we found that our user use Growth Machine in many other ways. So social warming, I mentioned that just earlier, making sure that you like the right people's posts to warm them up if you want. Another use case, you mentioned that we won the product of the day and product of the week last week on Product Hunt. We used the Growth Machine for this. Basically, we took everybody in our network, looked at who had a Product Hunt account, and then reached out to them to ask them if they would like to support us on the D-Day. And that did basically someone, Benjamin, told me, if you have your 1,000 votes before Product Hunt, then you won. We reached out to 1,000 people. Basically. And so if that's one use case that you can use.
And Product Hunt like is a huge channel too. It's like it's not even just for, I guess, like I'm learning from you, it's not even just for like outbound, or it's also for like growth and marketing use cases.
It's also for there's a new path. I don't know how you say this, but it's inbound led outbound.
Inbound,
know what it is? Okay, inbound led outbound. Basically, people coming to you, but you outreach to them voluntarily. So if they like your post, for example, they engage with you. There's a reason to contact them. If they follow you in any way, if they follow your company, inbound led outbound is something that works quite well too.
I've definitely. And I think now with platforms like Persona and La Growth Machine, making sense of these signals is a lot more easier. Because I think before people just thought it was not scalable, I think, right? It was not scalable to reach out to all your followers or reach out to, everyone who commented and, email them and engage with their content. But I think that's where like what's exciting is with this like new like sales tech stack is we're doing something that like, hey, this would have been a nice idea. And now being able to do it for, like you guys said, like 1,000 prospects. That's a huge number if you think about it. Like for someone to go humanly do it. Like I just remember even our own product hunt launch, right? I wish I knew about you guys before. Manually just kind of messaging everyone. So yeah, really cool stuff there.
And we'll see later that your use case too is kind of
inbound and outbound. I was just kind of going to like segue into that about this concept of, I think at high level, inbound and outbound, or any sort of like outbound in general, right? Like always start with some sort of signal or trigger, like sales trigger. Because people are always like, go for the AI or the personalization, or I say like putting the cart before the horse, like show me all the cool AI stuff, show me all the cool automations. How can I think I've also had, and I'm sure you have as well, people that just want to see like, I want to reach out to like thousands of people at once. And I was like, don't do that, because one, like email deliverability, but also like platforms, right? Like platforms like LinkedIn and things like that. They don't want you to be like some sort of spammer. You want to just talk about
even your prospects, your customers. If you contact hundreds of thousands of people, and we see tons of people on LinkedIn speaking about that. If you contact hundreds of thousands of people, then you probably didn't segment a lot.
Exactly.
it's probably not. If you don't segment, maybe it's normal that you only get 1%.
Exactly.
If we look at the figures that we have, so as LGM, we say LGM for Growth Machine. LGM has been built to get more replies. That's the reason why we had more channels. That's the reason why we had one of the channels is voice message. You can send voice message, and sending voice message gets you tons of replies. So we add features to get you more replies. But if you do this, you don't need to send 100,000 of emails to get your, I don't know, 2,000 replies.
Exactly.
You probably need to, our median, okay, that's the difference between average and median, but the median reply rate using Growth Machine is 24%.
Yeah.
Because our user don't send don't send campaigns to thousands of people. They segment a lot. They use multiple channels, and they get more replies. They don't need to.
Yeah, exactly. It's more about that like quality list building, quality, also just being smart about like which signals you're going from, how you're approaching your multi-channel. I think starting with a strategy instead of just like going brute force, everyone, everywhere, all at once. So I think just wanted to today actually share a real life use case about a like inbound led outbound, as you were mentioning, and with Persona. So we have a Slack community where people share different like use cases, tutorials, support, things like that. And last week, and honestly should have done this earlier, but last week, we were chatting about webinar use cases, and I was like, I should do this one. And it's basically taking people who are already in your Slack community or Discord community, something where they've already shown, honestly, if someone's in your Slack community, right? That's a very high intent signal because they want to be part of, learning about your company, growing, takes a couple of steps for them to get there. So I was like, yes, I need to engage with these people outside of Slack as well, because people sometimes fill out their Slack profiles, but sometimes not fully. So what I was able to do, and I'm going to just start sharing my screen here, and give me 1 second so I can pull up the Miro board. But what I was able to do is I did an export via Slack, and from that I was able to get a bunch of people's like emails and things like that. And let me just share my screen now. Do you see my screen like a Miro board? Are you guys able to see my screen, Brice?
Yes, you can. It's
okay. Okay, cool. Just want to make sure the screen is actually sharing before I go on. But yeah, with Persona, what I was able to do is, taking that list of emails and doing a 360 person and company enrich. And what does that mean in Persona? So it is using Persona to get more details on their profile and company website, company description, the revenue, and also using our agent to answer questions like, what is the company's revenue? Does it match our ICP? Is this person a decision maker? All to make, as Brice was saying, like that high intent list of like segmented leads that actually match our ICP criteria. Anyone can join a Slack community. So we want to make sure that, when I am reaching out to someone, it is someone that is verified and actually in our Slack community, and they are someone that matches our ICP, and it makes sense for me to reach out. We have around like 400, 500 people in the Slack community. So I definitely don't want to spam everyone if people are not a high quality lead. So this is exactly, honestly, the Persona table that we use. And we'll show you right from the start. This is the sort of list you will get from Slack. So you'll get their like username, email, and you'll also see their member status with Slack. So you can see if someone is a member on Slack, they are qualified as active or inactive as well. So if someone is qualified as active, that also means they have seen your message at some point or have opened the Slack. There's some criteria. So these are the couple of different things that you can get from Slack itself. And then what I was able to do using Persona is, since I have the email, that is a great starting point. So I actually ran an enrichment to find their LinkedIn URL using their email. And I actually did a multi-step approach where not only with the email just for higher accuracy, but then I also want to use, like, since I had their full name, I also tried to use that to find where they worked and things like that. Once I was able to get their profile and profile details, I got their like title, which was very important for me to do another enrichment. And so first I did the profile enrichment, and then I also, from their profile information, I also got their company details, company URL, company size was very important. Wanted to make sure I am reaching out to people of a certain company size. Also for in the Growth Machine and like my email campaigns, targeting with different sorts of messaging. For someone that works at like 1,000+ people company versus for someone that works for a small company, the messaging, the offers, the outreach tone is also a little different. So I made sure that match, and this is the exact prompt I used. So based on their title, so wanted to make sure they are someone who works in growth, go to market, BDR, SDR. I wanted to make sure they worked in that function because my copy and outreach was uh, tailored to that specific function. So I just made a very simple ChatGPT prompt here and used like the yes or no. And then I also just was using the information from the description as well from the company. So got all these details, was able to qualify. And then I already added a bunch of filters here. So you can see, is this a company size? Did we find the LinkedIn URL? Does it match our ICP of the title and things like that? And then this is the exciting part. So you just need to click enrich data and you will see our Growth Machine create or update lead over here. Once you do that, I already did it here. So let me show you how that works. So I used our own API key. You can add or change the key right here. You can get that API key from within the Growth Machine. Then very simple, and Brice is going to go into more detail after I finish showing this about how does this look on the Growth Machine side. But you can choose which audience, and then basically you see all these data columns that we've made here. You can just map it here into the columns to go into the Growth Machine. So we do need a couple of mandatory columns for it to go into the Growth Machine. So make sure you do have those enrichments, such as first name, last name. I got the company URL. I also put in there like LinkedIn URL for the multi-channel outreach. And these custom attributes, you can also, if I was generating like personalized messaging lines, for this outreach, I wanted to keep it very simple. Just, hey, I saw you were in my community Slack. But if you were doing some any cool AI-generated personalizations based on the data, you can add them as custom attributes here as well. So very flexible in terms of functionality and very easy to like send it to platforms like the Growth Machine and do these sort of enrichments at scale. So was mentioning I had around almost 500 people I was enriching and segmenting for Persana's use case, and was able to do this very easily. And what's also cool is you might see this auto run here. So does this mean every time I am like downloading from Slack, I am, having to set up these enrichments again? Not needed at all. If I set up the auto run for this table, it will automatically populate all these data enrichments when I add new rows. So that makes it very simple that I set it up once and I can forget it.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Does it work with the webhook? I mean,
yes.
Could we use the Slack webhook to populate the table automatically?
Yeah. So you can do that as well. That is a functionality you can do. And from our dashboard, you can just click get started and then import data from webhook. So that will create a webhook as well.
So that means that you can replicate, and as soon as there's someone new, you can onboard them. Okay, perfect.
Exactly. So you can use webhook, auto run, all these other nifty features, along with our agent and things like that, and send it all to the Growth Machine. And Brice would love for you to kind of you go into your platform and show all the awesomeness there.
I was interested.
Yeah.
I mean, we are personally interested by this because we also have one community, and they will probably use exactly copy and paste what you did.
I love that.
Thanks a lot for this.
Yeah.
So I'll share my screen now. So as you mentioned, you enriched everybody entering your Slack to get their LinkedIn profiles, qualify them, and only push those who are qualified and you want to engage with them. So this is the front page of the Growth Machine. I have quite a few campaigns running, but I create a new one. I will not use a template. You can use templates. We support, as I mentioned, multiple channels. So you can say, okay, I want one specific channel that uses LinkedIn email, LinkedIn Twitter, whatever you want. But I'll create a new one from scratch. When you create one, Sriya, in just in your previous steps, you didn't mention that, but you will push the leads in one specific audience. And the audience, basically, you select the audience from here. Okay, so you choose the persona audience here, and then from that moment, anyone that you add to the audience we will play the following actions on it. So when it starts, as soon as it starts, we will add a few actions. We'll start probably by adding him as a connection. So you want to grow your network. So as soon as you publish on LinkedIn, they will see your post, they will interact with it. That will help you increase your reach. And then wait for a few days for them to accept you. So let's say for 7 days, I will wait for them to accept me and then send them a personalized voice message, a personalized message for the moment. This message, well, you're probably used to that. You can add anything you want, and you can use any lead variable that Sriya mentioned earlier. You have the custom attributes here. The custom attributes would be the AI-generated icebreaker, for example. So you can do this, okay. And in case they didn't accept you, and that's the power of multi-channel engagement, that if they didn't accept you after a certain period, then I would change the channel and switch to it by email. And so if I get, that's the average, approximately 35%, 40% of acceptance, then 40% will go this way. But for the rest of them, 60% of them, they will receive my email. And to get the email, of course, in Persona, you can enrich the email, but if you don't, you can also use our auto enrichment feature here. Just click that box and we'll look for the email, the Twitter, and the phone for any lead that enters your campaign. From that moment, that's quite easy. You know how it works. That's an easy email that you have to write. And of course, and that's what I will hide now, you can send them follow-ups. If they didn't reply after a certain period, you'll probably want send another message, another email if they didn't reply on this part. But what's nice, I mentioned it earlier, we try to help you get more reply. And what helps get more reply is changing this message for a voice message. And so now I will not send a regular message, but send a follow-up by voice. And I will record something like this, blah, 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 and then send it to anyone entering that path. But what you can do is also use the voice plus AI that we introduced earlier this year, later last year. You will be able to personalize and say, hey, first name, and then record your own message. Hey, Sriya, blah, 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 blah. Hey, Brice, blah, 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 etc., etc. We will generate from that message your own voice and group the two messages. So every message that you send
is this like the voice cloning sort of thing? Voice
yes,
cloning?
That's voice cloning. That's exactly voice cloning.
Cool
yeah. That's voice cloning. We only clone the intro because for the moment, if you already tried the voice cloning, that works. I'd say that works well, but that's not perfect. And sometimes cloned voice feels on Xanax. and they feel really asleep, and we don't want that. So we only clone the first name. Basically, that's enough. Just hello first name, and then the rest of your message will be the same. If you do this, you get approximately 2 times more reply than if you send a regular text message. To increase your acceptance rate here, we will probably want you, in the case of your community, you want to maximize your acceptance rates. You will probably want to like the posts of your leads, so they see your face. I mentioned that earlier. So they see your face. If you enriched and found the LinkedIn profile, you can also do that on LinkedIn, for example, on Twitter, sorry, for example, favorite the last tweet. So they will see 1, 2, 3 times my face. They're probably willing to accept me now. Of course, you can do a lot more stuff. If you want to send back the data to Persona, then you can do that quite easily. You say, okay, after that, I will push a webhook, and you just showed me that you can receive webhooks from Persona, so I can push anyone who received, who replied, I don't know, anything that has been done on the Growth Machine, push back to Persona, for example. Once you've done that, so I repeat, you selected your audience. Oh, yeah, I forgot this. I have to, I didn't, I have to cancel that. Okay, cancel. I forgot to choose my identity, of course, so I have to choose mine. This is Brice. After you've done that, you just select if you want to sync that with your CRM. In this case, I will not, and check if you want to resume the campaign after if we detect an out of office or message, and you're done. You can send it. That's it. It shouldn't take you more than, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes to play with the graph, but maybe about 30 minutes, 20 minutes more to write the message and record your voice message, something like this. Sounds okay? Sriya? Okay.
Yeah.
That's quite it. If you have any question, feel free. Of course, yeah. I didn't mention that there's an inbox and stuff. But
yeah,
that's
the cool. Basics. And I think like Anais from your team was saying as well, like using the AI in the intro, sending that personalized voice message to all the leads. You said like makes all the difference, right? Like no way someone can spot that it's automated, but even it just adds that like more connection and like human level touch to it. So super sick feature with that. I think it just adds that one step ahead. And I think what I really like as well, kind of just how I showed in the Miro board, I really like how you guys have it all set up here as well. Like, okay, 1, 2, 3 these steps to map it out as well. And yeah, kind of to close it out, what are some of like the best practices you've seen using the Growth Machine? Like, what are your recommendations? Like, yeah.
Well, there are, let's say a few ones. Okay, first one, we are a multi-channel sales automation tool. Some of our users only use us for LinkedIn, but they basically only get approximately half of the reply rate that they should if they would include email first. Second, I mentioned that the voice messages are really useful. It works really well. Third, for your acceptance rates, if you don't on LinkedIn, if you are not connected to someone, you will not be able to send them messages. So being accepted is the key. Basically, it's like the deliverability in email. If you don't reach the inbox, well, nobody will see you. So if they don't accept you, you can't send any message. There are 2 stats here. 2 schools, let's say. The first one, if you don't add an invite note, you'll probably get more acceptance. Okay, more people will accept you. But if you add a note, less will accept you, but more people will reply to you because you're more frank. I don't know what to say this. You say you don't try to fool your lead if you want.
Yep. Yeah.
And then there are tons of smaller points. like on the for deliverability stuff that you probably know already for the email stuff.
Yeah, super cool. And I think like just the value in like both segmenting leads properly, using inbound led outbound as a strategy as well. Like it's not just like, hey, one shot, like here's my ICP, just brute force sending them emails all the time. But I think using platforms like Persona and the Growth Machine, you can get really creative with your growth hacking. And like, you're I think like by not reaching out to these people in multiple channels, or using these different signals, you're kind of missing out on very high intent leads already, right? You're that's like a whole funnel in of itself that you're not taking advantage of. And like after we started reaching out to the people from our community Slack, we got a lot of great feedback, or people were like, oh yeah, like I'll go check this out, like do you have any questions? So I've definitely seen that response rate start to flow in. And yeah, cool stuff.
There are a few things that seems obvious when you say them, but when you discuss with someone, being email, LinkedIn, whatever, if you stop the conversation, then the conversation ends. So any message that you send, any reply that you get, your reply to the replies should always be a question.
Yes.
Because if you ask a question, the conversation continues, and you have one more chance to close it.
Yes.
Few things like this.
Yes, that's definitely true. I like that. Always like leading with a question, so at least they will respond in some way to like trigger. Like I think a lot of sales and like even though we're technology platforms, it has to also do with the basics of human psychology, right? Like, hey, like they've already joined the community Slack, that means they're interested. Or hey, like seeing someone's name, that's been trying to reach out to me, like my stuff on LinkedIn, or send me messages or comment or do some sort of multi-channel, brings it up in my head and makes me remember them. So I think it's honestly at its base just using human psychology, and technology helps with that. So
something you could probably do in Persona, you have the LinkedIn profile of your community members. If you have your LinkedIn profile, maybe you can get the latest post. Can you? Okay. So if you get the latest post, you should probably be able to generate an icebreaker that will ask him to engage on the community regarding this topic that he just spoke about.
Great idea. Great idea. And I think we're about at time. And I just wanted to thank you again. I think it's been great partnering with your team to build out this integration, setting up this webinar. I hope this was helpful for everyone to learn about multi-channel prospecting and different sales methods like inbound, outbound, community growth, and different sales strategies. I think like even I've learned a lot from this webinar about, even how to use like Growth Machine with the voice cloning and those different sorts of like small things that make a big difference. So it's been awesome to partner with the Growth Machine and ship this integration from Persona. And thank you so much, Brice, for hopping on this podcast and webinar. It's been great learning about your journey. I think, building tools for someone, you were actually the customer of, you are an expert in this, coming from like that growth marketing background. So, and I think that shows in your platform as well, like the nuances of it. You definitely, and your team have definitely thought through that end to end of how can we growth hack, how can we not just take a process, but scale it and make it super useful. So great stuff with the Growth Machine. I know it's been everywhere on LinkedIn. People like just even organically, like I was talking to a prospect last week and they, without me even prompting, they're like, oh, we're also exploring the Growth Machine and things like that. I was like, great, like we have the integration now with them. So great stuff you have been building, and super excited to take our partnership forward.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and thanks for the integration.
Awesome.
There's definitely tons of things to do together.
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much, guys, for joining. This is believe our last webinar for this month we've done 4 different webinars with 4 of our different integrations. You can find all of this, if you want to watch back, if you have any questions on workflows, we post these on our YouTube channel. And you can also join our community Slack to learn more as well. So yeah, thank you everyone for tuning into this webinar series. We'll be starting with something different again in the next month, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And thank you so much, Brice, for joining me today.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.